It's very exciting, and I think we'll be here for a long time. This will be here long after we're gone. No matter what happens with the world, this is not moving. This will take any kind of shot, but it's something we really needed badly for the helicopters, but we get a secondary use, and that's, we can have some beautiful events here, including the greeting of people from foreign countries. They'll be very impressed. Right now, they're not impressed when they see coming in on asphalt, and they're not impressed. It's never very impressive. They're going to go the opposite. And one of the reasons, by the way, for the last number of years, no tents have been used, because tents are very dangerous. Tents are made out of plastic or canvas, and they don't stop even the smallest of ammunition or bullets, not even the smallest. Ours will stop. You take AK-47s, you take the most powerful, it laughs at it. It laughs at it. I was saying to one of the military guys, how does it do with an AK-47? He goes, up, meaning it can take a lot, including drones. So I thought this would be a little different kind of a news conference, but I found out the guys were showing me this. We were going to sign this privately and just put it in. I said, this is something I think the press should see, and I hope you liked it. It's going to be finished. What do you think? What do you think, Jared?
We'll make it the 21st.
21st? Oh,
yes, sir.
So we might make it for presidency? That would be great. If we did this by the 21st, he's coming the 20th. That'd be nice. Not imperative, but it would be very nice to have it done. It's pretty amazing to do it that quickly. Thank you all very much. Go have a good time. I think it's a great story, and these people are a big part of that. So all these workers, I've watched them from windows, and they are working at 6 in the morning till 12 o'clock in the night. Same thing with the military complex right over here. They're working from 6:30 in the morning is late. If they get at 6:30, that's like almost late, and they work till 11:30, 12 o'clock every night. That's why you see it going up so fast and so properly. But I want to give a lot of credit to the construction crews, because there's nobody like them. There's nobody like them. Great job. You've done fantastic. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you.
Are you exchanging written letters with Kim Jong-un?
Can't tell you that. But I get along with him. And you know what? The fact that I get along with him, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. He has 57 very powerful nuclear weapons. Should have never allowed it to happen. They should have never allowed it. If I were president, I wouldn't have allowed it. But he's got them. I get along with him very well. I can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And I know Kim Jong-un very well, and he's going to be fine. As long as we have a smart president, he's going to be fine. If we have a dumb president, then he's probably not going to be so fine.
Are you expecting to meet with him later this year?
Yeah, I will be.
Mr. President, today is about American production. Can you give us any update on your negotiations with Canada for a trade deal?
Yeah, we had a very good conversation with the Prime Minister last night, and we've come to a deal with Canada. As you know, the 50% tariffs across the board were going on against Canada today. And they called yesterday, and they gave us the points that we had to have. Very fair deal for both. The tariffs will be non-existent for our farmers. Our farmers were paying tremendous tariffs into Canada, and those tariffs are going to be totally eviscerated, down to zero.
Is the U.S. going to lower tariffs on Canadian autos or lumber?
We're doing certain things. We're got to give something, and we're doing certain things. They were paying a high number. We're reducing it a little bit. It's good for everybody. But our farmers are going to be thrilled. Our manufacturers are going to be thrilled. And basically, we have no tariffs going into Canada anymore. Canada was charging us tremendous tariffs. We no longer have any tariffs. And what I was able to do is we put, as you know, under the new tariff, I guess you'd call it the new tariff schedules that we came out with. They were going to get a 50% tariff on everything starting today. And we've held it back 3 days. It's all subject to finalization of documents. So subject to the finalization of documents, we have a deal with Canada, and I think it's a very good deal for both parties. It's great for our farmers. Our farmers will no longer be held up because they were being hurt very badly by Canada. Yeah. The Strait, last night we had a lot of boats come through. We have possession, complete control of the Strait. I mean, outside of nuisance value, and there is nuisance value when they shoot a drone every once in a while, and not everybody's going to go through, but they come through. And over the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of oil coming out. It's Wednesday, 19 August, year of our Lord 2026. Joining us from the War Room is Ed Martin. Ed, you are a legendary figure in the conservative movement. You worked with and as a partner with one of the great, Phyllis Schlafly, one of the great icons of our movement, and one of the most important people early on that came, or probably the most important conservative that came on early on to support President Trump. You've also, your media presence and your activities over the last decade have just been extraordinary. Just get the audience, I've got a bunch of stuff I've got to go through with you today, but just get the audience up to date. What is your official title in the United States government now, sir?
Yeah, thank you. I'm the United States Pardon Attorney right now. I run the Pardon Office as U.S. Attorney, very awesome before Jeanine Pirro, and then I was over as Associate Deputy Attorney General doing the weaponization fight. But right now it's pardons, and there's been a lot of action. We've been working at this for a year. The news that came out recently, which I think is some of the best news of this admin, if you understand how bad the swamp is, how deep the state is, the deep state, and we're fighting through it. So it's very cool. Glad to be with you, Steve.
No, it's okay. So I got a video. Let me play a video about Ed Martin and this topic, and then we're going to get into it. Let's go ahead and let it rip, Denver.
I'm Ed Martin, the United States Pardon Attorney. I'd like to share some news about the Department of Justice's plan to help citizens of our nation who have lost their federal firearms rights. We've recently published a rule that delivers on our promise to strengthen and protect the Second Amendment. To put that rule into effect, my team in the Pardon Office is hard at work to ensure that we can create and utilize an application process that balances public safety with the protection of your Second Amendment rights. Soon, we'll launch an online portal to accept all incoming applications. For those of you who are seeking relief, I know you're anxious to get started. And while you're waiting, I'd ask you to visit our website and find out more about what you'll need. That website is www.justice.gov/FFRR. There you'll learn about what you need to gather together and what you'll need to submit. We'll continue to update our website with all resources, new, old resources, and all the information you'll need to help assist you in getting relief. Please keep watching this space for more information. The launch date of the firearms restoration application, it's just around the corner, and I'm looking forward to providing relief to many worthy applicants.
Okay, Ed, I want to get into this in detail, particularly since we're close to the launch date. But this has been a big interest of President Trump. He got the First Step, having been a former federal inmate. Navarro and I can tell you, the First Step Act, previous things done in Obama. What is the whole kind of palette you're dealing with, and how does this new initiative fit into that?
Well, I'd say it this way, Steve. You know this, but I hope our viewers keep getting reinforced. Donald Trump is fearless. He takes on the stuff that nobody has the stones to take on, right? So in this case, 1991, the law gets passed that says, hey, there are 30+ million Americans who can't get their Second Amendment rights, can't use that right. Let's give them a chance to apply to get them back. From 91 until Trump, blocked. Dianne Feinstein blocked it. Republican presidents blocked it. Nobody got it done until Trump. Even in Trump 1, it was slow. It took Trump 2 to get this done. And now you can, if you lost your Second Amendment rights, you can come and get them back. Now, people say, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? People are going to get violent. First of all, the Second Amendment is in our Constitution. It's fundamental. You don't get to debate about that one. You don't get to say, well, we don't like you. We don't think you might be good or bad in the future. But we're also got a process. And, you know, Todd Blanche was the DAG at the time, the Deputy Attorney General, and he kept riding me saying, finish this faster, Martin. It's going too slow. It took us almost a year to beat the deep state and the infrastructure of these people. They want a review here, a review there. Now, very soon, actually, it's open in some ways. We're going to have to roll it out, but you're going to have millions of people that are going to say, hey, give me my Second Amendment rights back, and we'll do a test, make sure it's safe. But how does it fit in? Every time somebody in this whole political landscape says, you can't do that, you can't seal the border, you can't be against free trade, you can't have First Step Act, Trump says, hold my, Diet Coke, and he does it. And in this case, it's unbelievable. Steve, I can't tell you how proud I am. Second Amendment deserves it. Our citizens deserve it. And, you know, a guy that did like a white-collar crime 25 years ago can't buy a gun to protect himself, to protect his family, to go hunting. This is just stupid. It's un-American. And the left has been doing this to us for decades, and every time we can, we fight back.
How do you just walk us through the process, how it's set up? What was Feinstein's argument, and what were these other arguments, and how were you and Todd
arguments. No arguments. No arguments. No arguments by that. It was just deep state jiu-jitsu, right? They what they did was they defunded it, or they put it in ATF, and they said ATF can't use their funds to do it. They did all these games, and again, our side, meaning the so-called conservatives and Republicans, didn't fight through that, right? So here we are. So very practically now, the power to give back Second Amendment rights is now in the hands of the Attorney General. He's delegating it to the Pardon Attorney's Office, and we're going to take applications, and we're going to see. And we are going to look and say, if you did a tax problem in 1987, and now you want your Second Amendment rights back, here you go. Now, it gets a little harder, Steve. We got to be careful with people that did violent crime. That's going to be one that's very difficult to see, right? If you're in prison, there are lots of people in prison, you're not going to get your rights back. But the point is, the direction of Trump is always towards more of our rights or our Constitution, and it's going to be exciting to do.
Okay, this is what I want to get to. You, as a U.S. attorney for pardons, I don't know if there's still 30 million, but there's a pool of potential folks out of there. They all have to come and apply, and you guys have a review process to make sure, hey, it's a tax guy, it's a white-collar crime guy, it's some sort of thing here, but it's not some sort of scam. It's not related to violent crime, et cetera. Just walk us through that process. How's that going to work?
Yeah.
And how's one office going to have the ability to process all these?
Well, first of all, we actually have staffed up. We're one of the only divisions, again, that the DAG, at the time it was Blanche, gave us the wherewithal. We staffed up with folks because we're going to review them, and we made a priority. Again, I think we all should spend government money on stuff that actually matters, and in this case, a fundamental right. So the way it's going to work is when you apply, well, there's a process. What is the process? Well, if you're applying from prison, you can't get it back, right? And there'll be a lot of them, right? You mentioned 30 million. We think the number of people is somewhere between 25 and 30 million who have a disability, meaning their Second Amendment right is in some way impaired. So a bunch of those, pretty quickly, you can get rid of some of them. If you're in prison, if you're convicted of a violent crime, murder, even if you're out, you're not going to get your Second Amendment rights back. But then you go down quickly, and I think, the estimates are 300,000 will apply. I think it'll be 3 million, and I believe it'll come that fast because people understand the Second Amendment. But then it'll be processing it. We'll run a background check, make sure that you didn't do something else in the intervening years. We'll look at your application, and then we'll make a judgment. And again, if you're a wimp and a bureaucrat, you won't decide. If you're Trump and you're empowered by Trump, you decide, and you decide in favor of the citizens and their rights. So that process is, one thing we're afraid of. I won't lie about it. I don't want healthcare.gov when Obamacare crashed, when they promised, and then destroyed. Pardon me, cut that out, Steve. And we've been working hard to make sure our system allows people to apply and doesn't have the crash out. So that's a challenge. But again, if you're doing your job, you're going to work these things through, and that's what we've been doing.
So you have ramped up and you're all set to go. Do you guys have a launch date now when there's going to be a site when this process kicks off, or when do you anticipate?
The site will go live in the next week or so. It's already kind of there, sitting there. If you go to justice.gov, FFRR, that's Federal Firearms Rights Restoration, FFRR, you can check out the basics. The rule got signed by Todd Blanche a couple days ago. This is one of the other games you have to play. It goes in the Federal Register. Now it's locked in, though, so 30 days from, I think, tomorrow, whenever it is around now, it'll be totally live. So, but we can do things in there. And what we have done, one thing we've done, Steve, is we've talked to folks that have come forward on this Second Amendment question, and we've got them teed up. We're going to run real quick a couple of sort of tests to make sure the system's working well, and then Katie bar the doors. But come the fall, and certainly into the new year, if you've got this, we're going to get it. We're going to process it quickly, and people are going to get back their Second Amendment rights.
Ed, can you hang on for 1 second? Amazing program. Glad you're taking action. Birchgold.com. Take your phone out and text Bannon, Bannon, at 989898. You get access to the investment guide in the era of Trump and investing in gold and precious metals. Most importantly, by the way, no obligation, totally free, obviously, from Birch Gold. You get access to Philip Patrick gold at over $4,500 a day. It ain't the daily price. It's the process. How did it go from $1,000 an ounce when we started to $4,500? Find out why it's a hedge. Find out today.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Ed Martin's with us. Ed Martin is now the U.S. pardon attorney, working with Todd Blanche, all the guys over at Main Justice. Just one more time, so I know it, and you've got to launch. We're going to get the website up, and we'll put a big initiative in back of this. Why is it, and by the way, Navarro, we got set away from misdemeanors at Danbury. That's what made me a celebrity. It wasn't so much working with President Trump, is that the first misdemeanor the president had ever had in 110 years. Why is it important to restore the Second Amendment rights to former felons in the federal prison system? Ed, just one more time so the audience can understand it.
Well, first of all, the Second Amendment, it's a constitutional right. It's more fundamental than, most things we do, whether, the kinds of dreams you want to have and things. It's fundamental. You go back and look at the founders, why they had it, why they wanted to stabilize society. But also, look, the system is not perfect. And the system is, the left has gradually said, we're going to use the justice system, we're going to use the penalty of jail to do all sorts of things to you. And by the way, the lunatic that's running the Commonwealth of Virginia now, she's happy to roll and give people their right to vote back, like in 10 minutes, no matter who they are. But in this system, we haven't been aggressive, our side, meaning conservatives that believe in the Constitution, to say, hey, if you serve your time, if you do your penalty, if you do the honorable thing, you're part of this, you're a citizen, and you do that, then you ought to be able to come out and be a part of the society. And the Second Amendment's fundamental. These people shouldn't be treated as second-class citizens, and therefore they should have the right to apply for this. And that's all we're saying, and that's the system. And again, President Trump has been awesome at understanding that the whole culture of the left and government and the swamp, it's like a fog that's rolled in, and suddenly it's thicker and thicker. You're like, what is this? And we've got to clear the air, and that's what this is doing too.
Ed, I know when I was in prison at Danbury, the President Trump's First Step Act was really something that the inmates felt that finally somebody in the system is hearing us. Not that we should get a special deal, but if you pay, if you keep your nose clean, you take these classes, if you work, you get points. There's got to be some way to expedite this process. Jared did a fantastic job on First Step. Can you just tell us, where do you think we stand on that? Because that, I tell you, for the people that are in, and the families particularly, about family separation, this was critical. Where do we stand with that?
Well, I could put these two together, this question you just asked me, and I'll tell you, Steve, I'm a lawyer, all these years. My father's a lawyer, my late father, and I love the law. I love the Constitution. America, our crown jewels are the Constitution and the rule of law. In London, you go visit the crown jewels. Here, you look at the Constitution, right? So it's gotten off balance, and it's gotten off balance because of radical, crazy judges and radical prosecutors who are putting their thumb on the scale. And, you talk about another reason why people that are in jail should apply for their Second Amendment rights, because the system has been just getting more and more off balance. And First Step Act is a way to get the balance back. Again, I represented J6 defendants, and I saw the thumb on the scale by the prosecutors, by the fake news, and by the judges. It's insane what they did. It's insane. And so one of the things this president has done consistently, First Step Act, and I've seen it now as pardon attorney, all the way through to acts of clemency. He did acts of clemency. He gave pardons for J6ers, pardons for cops, pardons for pro-life grandmas, right? But the part of that started it is the First Step Act. And that echoes through the community that's coming in to see me on pardons. They're saying, hey, this is a guy that actually said, you're worth something. Let's see if we can get you, your life together. And by the way, you've probably been overcharged and over-sentenced and all that. And so we're going to put it together. I got to tell you, there's never been a president who's moved the dynamic of criminal justice like this president did. And he did it concretely. And I tell people all the time, there won't be another First Step Act because the Congress can't act. But what there can be is pardons and clemency and commutations. President Trump, you know these stories, Steve, but President Trump gave a commutation to a black boxer, let him out of jail after like 25 years, Duke Tanner. Duke Tanner came out, his life is clean, it's unbelievable, he's doing great things, and then the president gave him a pardon. You talk about like understanding how we can do better and what rewards are throughout the culture of this country. Too often the folks that are either in prison or close to prison or living in poverty or living in crappy schools, they don't have hope. They don't have real policies that give them incentives. So First Step Act's been transformative. I see it every day. And I think the communities, as you mentioned, are all across the country, lower income, a lot of them coming out of the minority community, are saying, hey, these guys, this guy, Trump, and his team are on our side.
By the way, and being in prison, I was a teacher. I taught classes there. I can tell you that they feel abandoned by the Democratic Party. They feel the Democratic Party has used them and abused them. And so this is what President Trump has done is so brilliant. I want to, before I lose you, Ed, and I want to thank everybody over at Justice for having you on today. And we're going to be all over the launch. We want you back when we do the formal launch, all of it. You had as a mentor, and you were the deputy to one of the great women of the 20th and 21st century, Phyllis Schlafly. Give the audience, we got a couple of minutes, give the audience your assessment of Phyllis, her place in history, and particularly since she boldly stepped out of kind of the box of the conservative movement, and she was the first one to see something in Trump and say, I'm going to back this guy, and she got a lot of grief for it. What would Phyllis Schlafly say about where we are today? How much progress have we made, sir?
Well, first of all, thanks for always. You've been very kind about Steve. Steve, you've been very kind about Phyllis because you met her. I know you did a video. You did a documentary with her as one of the featured folks, and we've always had this able to have this conversation. She was an extraordinary figure over about 70 years of American life. She was 92 years old when she died, but for 70 years she was at the forefront of the fight over communists and the Soviets, over the UN and the globalists, over the Equal Rights Amendment, and trannies playing sports against your daughters. Everything, every place she was pro-life. And when she saw Trump in 2015, I'll never forget it. It was soon after he went down the escalator that summer. People were talking about maybe Walker, Governor Walker, maybe this. And I can picture her saying it. She said, I think he's the guy. And she backed him early. She liked him. She believed in him. I think she's the OG. I mean, she and I got sued in April of 2016 by people that hated the fact that she endorsed Trump. And the lawsuits dragged on millions of dollars. John Schlafly had to fight back. So she was amazing. But what she believed in with Trump was exactly the stuff we're seeing. He was going to take on the swamp. He was going to take on the old guard that said you have to think this way. You have to be about free trade. You have to be working with China, let them run all over us. And so, but I think the one thing she might be surprised at is the intensity now of the left, how public they are. She knew they were evil. She used to say, she once gave a speech, she was asked by Clarence Thomas, what do you do when they attack you? And she said, I say a prayer. One of the parts of the prayer is, from the malignant enemy, defend me. And she said, I say that whenever I go into the presence of these people, because she knew it was truly evil. I think she might be surprised by the extent of the evil that's bubbling to the surface. She knew it was there. They killed Charlie, right? They shot the president. They put people in the gulag, J6ers, working class people, and tried to destroy their lives, did destroy a lot of lives. I think she would be surprised by that. But I tell you this, the president came to her funeral. President Trump came to Phyllis Schlafly's funeral in September. You were there, September of 2016. He came off the campaign trail. You came, Kellyanne came, the president, Mrs. Melania, Mrs. Trump, and he gave a short speech, and he said she never wavered. And Steve, she never wavered. Typical Trump, knows how to do it. She never wavered. She never wavered in loving the Lord. She never wavered in confidence in the American experiment, the Constitution, the rule of law. She never wavered in her support for Trump. That was one of her great gifts to me and others, to teach us that. She would be very proud of what he's done and proud of what is happening. But she would also say, like he did, you got to fight, fight, fight. And we got a lot to do.
By the way, it's one of the most moving times that we came off the campaign trail to go to St. Louis. And that beautiful basilica, just an incredible funeral, packed to the rafters. And President Trump and Melania went over and spent the time to say prayers in front of the casket before it was brought down to the main part of the basilica. Real quickly, at the end, I mean, we had, Natalie pulled videos from DSA saying they got to overcome the U.S. Constitution. I mean, the radicalness of the DSA, it's a Marxist jihadist revolution. What would Phyllis Schlafly, who warned us about this for decade after decade after decade, what would she say, do you believe she would say about the DSA today, sir?
Oh man, I mean, she'd be clear-eyed. She, as you said, she was a happy warrior, and she was a lady who had a lot of style and class. But she called them evil, and she would say they're evil. And she would say, I think more importantly, she would say to the people that love America, you got to see what the moment is. You got to know the moment now, and you got to step up. And it's not enough to curse the fates. It's not enough to think that it's really tough. You got to go to the polls. You got to go and you got to get your neighbors out. You got to vote. She used to say, people would say we're going to pray about it, and she'd say the Lord's got a lot of things on his plate, so he's not going to stuff the ballot box. We got to, get the ballot box full ourselves. And so that's the one thing I would say. We're in that window, Steve, where we're less than 100 days to an election, where people say, well, I wish we'd done this, and why isn't Fauci in cuffs? I'm all for that. Trust me. Inside, we are battling all the time, but you got to understand it's light and dark, and the dark is coming with the DSA, with these lunatics from Florida, Michigan, and in your neighborhood, in your town, in your ballot box, you've got to get up and go and vote, and you got to make a big deal out of this November, because they're coming and they're nasty. And I like to think that you can see them coming, but a lot of what they're doing still is so evil and so sort of unseen. You just don't. We've got to stop them. So that's what Phyllis always said. Went back to practical. Get out and vote. Make the votes happen, and get people participating.
Ed, how can people follow you? Social media, your coordinates, all of it, sir?
Yeah. At Eagle Ed Martin on X is where I do most of my damage. At Eagle Ed Martin is where you can find me, and DMs are open. I love to hear from your folks. They always go crazy. And just fight, Steve. Thank you.
Let's get the DMs rolling for Ed Martin, hero and
Here we
patriot.
go.
Sir, thank you for taking time. Thanks for taking time away today. Come by the war room. Appreciate it. Want to appreciate also Neil McCabe, everybody over the comms department, over Main Justice, and of course the Attorney General of the United States, Todd Blanche, for making this happen. Birch Gold, take your phone out, text Bannon, Bannon, at 989898. You get access to Philip Patrick's entire team. It's all free and no obligation. Tons of information. Everything about why gold's a hedge, why is the gold price run up, where's it going to go, all of it. Check in today.
So the two things that we're famous for is our commitment to a program and our hatred of the United States Constitution. And what the program does is it gives us a roadmap to revolution, and it gives us the obstacle that we finally will have to get over to have a revolution, which is the United States Constitution, the basis of the United States government. And what the minimum maximum program specifically, what that format specifically gives us is that roadmap. It gives us the minimum circumstances under which we would be able to take power and govern, and it gives us the maximum program, which is the goals that we're actually aiming for. It also clarifies democracy as both the end goal and as part of the process to get there ensures the internal party democracy that we want to see in DSA. So it really wraps up the revolutionary tradition of democracy that I think socialism and abolitionism in the United States have always been a part of, and aims at a future that we can live in as a human species. Because I think absent a revolutionary democratic socialist republic in North America, we may not have a livable future.
You say Floridians are ready for Medicare for all, universal child care, affordable housing, fully funded public education, and an end to senseless wars. How did that resonate on the campaign trail, especially Medicare for all, a universal health care?
Yeah, for sure. So the state of Florida, Floridians, we are the largest group of enrollees on the Affordable Care Act. And again, unelected Ashley Moody decided to vote against extending the ACA subsidies, which knocked nearly 300,000 people off the ACA marketplace. Medical debt is the leading cause of bankruptcy here in our country. And you got to think about it. People are literally going bankrupt simply because they're trying to stay alive. And so not only that, but childcare here in our state, it ranges anywhere from $800 to $2,400. Universal childcare is something that we need. For every $1 the government would spend, it puts $3 back into the economy because it allows parents to be able to work. I am a mother of 5. Me and my husband have a blended family. I have a 5-year-old right now. Do you know how much we need childcare, and that'll free us up to not have to worry about things? And Floridians and Americans all across the state agree.
So you don't support defunding the police?
No, I don't support defunding the police. I do support comprehensive criminal justice reform to make sure we are addressing some of the root causes of people leading into a life of crime.
Okay, that's just snippet. And I'm going to get up so people can watch that entire interview on Morning Joe, because the first clip was from Connolly, one of their senior policy people. That's really what the DSA is the Marxist part of the Marxist jihadist revolution facing this country. Angie Nixon, who won a blowout, come from behind victory last night to run for the United States Senate as the Democratic candidate in Florida, in the free state of Florida, is the face they're going to try to put on. You're going to get Angie Nixons and Talaricos. These are wolves in sheep's clothing, because this is how the socialists are going to try to present it. Hey, I'm just a working person. I've got a 5-year-old. We just need Medicare for all. It's an incredibly smart strategy. Major KCarl Smith is with us. Sir, your assessment of the Marxist DSA, and quite frankly, because they blew out Vindman last night. Vindman had unlimited amount of money. In fact, he left some money in the bank, and he got blown out, and this thing was decided early. Your assessment of the Marxists, of the true nature of this, which is they want to destroy the U.S. Constitution and turn the United States into the Democratic Socialist Republic of North America, sir.
They want to destroy this country. It's in their platform. That's why America's got to become more involved in what's going on, because they're telling us in their platform what they want to do. We want to rewrite the Constitution, get rid of the U.S. Senate, get rid of the Electoral College, get rid of private schools and homeschools, and have all our children go to government-indoctrinated centers. And so you're exactly right. And Steve, I want to thank you for what you're doing on this show, because you're putting out great information that people need to know, and more people need to know about it. There's something we need to be concerned about. People need to understand, especially young people, need to understand the value of liberty. And that must be educated to them by parents and grandparents and shows like yours, because our institutions are not giving it to them. And that's my concern.
Major, you're 101st Airborne. You're a part of the Adjutant General Corps. Walk us through, how did you, in your formation, how did you become a patriot, sir?
I've always been a patriot. My father was a colonel in the Army Reserve. So this sense of being a patriot is something that gets in my blood coming from my father. And so I have to salute him and credit him for not just having become a patriot, but my belief in Jesus Christ. So, of course, when I retired from the military back in '96, I can't remove myself from the oath that I took to defend my country from all threats, domestic and external. And we have a domestic threat, and that's, for example, people want to turn our beloved America transform it to a socialist Marxist nation, and we got to fight.
Major Smith, when you've raised your hand and sworn to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, when you hear that first clip about the DSA, the Democratic Socialists, and their program at the highest level with their smartest people is saying, hey, we have a minimum maximum about the Constitution. We have to get into office today, so we got to play by their rules. But our goal is to destroy the Constitution. That's what stands between us and true power. And once we get that, we will turn America into the Democratic Socialist Republic of North America. Do you believe that's sedition, sir?
They're serious about this thing. They're playing for keeps. And we need to wake up. We got to get involved in the process. We got to get out and vote and know what we're voting for, not just voting for a label because based on tradition, but knowing that, you said it before, this is good versus evil. This is liberty versus tyranny. This is slavery versus liberty. And it's right before us. And my concern is the next generation, we got to make sure they understand the value of liberty because they're being indoctrinated right in front of our eyes. And sadly, we have not effectively had a counter strategy to push back against the Marxist agenda that's coming after our children.
You know, the war room, we're right on Capitol Hill behind the Supreme Court, and we're a block away from the Frederick Douglass House. And your writings, one of the most amazing things is your understanding of Frederick Douglass and his understanding of where we would be today. What would Frederick Douglass say about this situation? What would Frederick Douglass say when you have Angie Nixon on there and she's as nice and sweet and as working class as you could possibly be? I mean, she is a wolf in sheep's clothing. What would Frederick Douglass warn us about, sir?
Well, you just teed it up for me, Steve. That's why I wrote my fourth book, Douglas versus Marx, The Battle for America's Soul. And in this book, I pit Frederick Douglass and Karl Marx into 31 debates. And a lot of people don't know, Douglass and Karl Marx were contemporaries. They were both born in the same year, 1818. They never met, they never corresponded. But here are two men who looked at oppression in the world and came up with two totally different worldviews. And Karl Marx wrote about oppression, something he'd never experienced, and Douglass wrote about oppression because he had real life experiences. So in these dialogues, it's based on what they actually said, what they actually believed. So answering your question, we took the writings of Frederick Douglass, we took the writings of Karl Marx, put them in the room and properly introduce them to each other, and they're debating. They're debating free speech. In fact, all the attacks of Marxism or DSA, Douglass wrote about it. Because I've always said this, Douglass argued against Marxism before the word Marxism was ever invented. And what I mean by that, Douglass wrote extensively about his experience as a slave on a plantation. And the techniques of oppression used by the plantation slave master are identical to the techniques of oppression used by a slave government, Marxism. And Douglass wrote about those things. So I don't have to put words in Douglass's mouth. His words are clear. Douglass rejected any form of coming up with a government to get rid of the Constitution, number one, because he called the Constitution a glorious liberty document, and to get rid of one form of slavery for another. Douglass said, I didn't escape from plantation to accept another form of slavery. And that's what Marxism is.
No, this is the power, and this is the power of Angie Nixon. You know, she's from Jacksonville. They said today in Morning Joe, they went over and over again how she may not win, right? But she's going to bring out a huge black turnout to counter Byron Donalds and help David Jolly maybe in the governor's race. And they know what they're doing. This is my point. They are selling Marxism as breaking the bondage for people that are African Americans, Latino, the working class, the white working class. And what Douglass warns us about, this is essentially another form of slavery, correct?
Exactly right. And what Republicans have to do to counter that, since the Democrats want to celebrate as a hero Karl Marx, we got to celebrate our heroes, Frederick Douglass, and get back to our fundamental beginnings of the Republican Party, which was abolition. The young man mentioned about the abolition being Marxist. The abolition wasn't Marxist. It was abolition. When you look at the abolitionist movement, Douglass embraced the Constitution. He asked America to live up to it, not to tear it down or to destroy it. So I think it's key for us to win and crush the opposition in November and beyond. We have to get back to our base as the Republican Party and get back to articulating the message of liberty through the lens and the message of Frederick Douglass. The best liberty message to defeat Marxism, is Frederick Douglassism. We got to learn to leverage it.
Amazing. Frank Gaffney, we're launching the ban Sharia law operation. Did so well in Texas, prohibits Sharia law. How does the message of Frederick Douglass and Major KCarl Smith fit into this, sir?
I think brilliantly, Steve, and thank you for the attention you're paying to both of these
critical issues, the Marxist threat as well as the jihadist one. Bansharia.com, of course, is the website we're using to try to educate people about the threat of Sharia. But it is, as we talked about yesterday, vastly more serious because of the combination with the, DSA and other communists who are in the mix as well, and serving the same purpose. It's about not only destroying our Constitution, but really enslaving the American people. So the abolitionist piece of this, and I'm so delighted that you've got KCarl on, because we've become friends. I greatly admire the work that he's been doing to sort of lift up Frederick Douglass as the man of this moment, when we really need an abolition 2.0 movement. It's the difference, I guess, is that at its apex, I think slavery involved, some 4 million black slaves in our country. This is the prospect that we're facing, is 350 million slaves of all kinds of colors, races, and sexes, and so on. All of us, because that's what these folks have in mind, whether it's for the ideology of Karl Marx or it's the ideology of Muhammad. And what we're really anxious to see is whether KCarl and his insights can be brought to the fore, particularly in this upcoming midterm convention with the Republican Party. It offers an opportunity for that party to be reborn. But I don't think out of its roots. I think we need to do it. I think we need to do it every day, because I don't think this convention is really just going to be it's going to be a rally. But every day we got to hit this. You guys hang on. Major KCarl Smith, Frank Gaffney, Ban Sharia Law. Short break. Thayer's going to join us next in the War Room.
We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP.
Abolishing prisons, which is one of the platform positions of the national DSA. Do you support that?
I don't support abolishing prisons. What I do support is abolishing for-profit prisons, because they exploit labor and they usher many of our children into the school-to-prison pipeline. Why are we incentivizing the enhancement of penalties and actually allow the enhancement of not actually allowing the education system to be successful? There has been an attack on public education here in our state and across our country, and that leads to children winding up in the school to prison pipeline. I don't support abolishing prisons, but I do support ending for-profit prisons.
DSA means open borders. They say that's what that means. Do you support open borders into the United States?
I support a comprehensive and clear pathway to citizenship for folks. I believe that Border Patrol should make sure that they are securing the border. I believe, though, that there needs to be a clear, comprehensive, and compassionate pathway to citizenship.
Jump in here. I'm going to play more of this in the coming days. Let me be blunt. That message is right. Vindman raised $16 million and had the entire political apparatus of the Democratic Party back of him. Angie Nixon raised less than $1 million. She's an organizer. She's a community organizer. You heard that one before? Whether she wins or not in the fall is not the point. The point is DSA, the Marxist jihadists, are putting this front on people that is very accessible, very agreeable, very kind, very nice, unflappable. And if you think you're going to beat that with just the standard Republican playbook of here's Milton Friedman and here's what we're going to do, you are dead wrong. This has to be addressed of exactly what is behind the nice facade. This is what did not happen with Mandami. And now you know what we're dealing with. And this is all is going to spread all over the country. So folks understand what we're up against. Frank Gaffney, where do people go on the Ban Sharia to get all the information, sir? Well, let me just say, Steve, I couldn't agree with you more. You've got to be
standing for something that's sharply in contrast, and that is freedom. And I think Frederick Douglass and KCarl Smith are people who can really help us get that messaging across, provided the Republican Party stands for something. You can go to bansharia.com. It's a nonpartisan effort to try to prevent the tyranny that the jihadists especially, but the Marxists partnering with them, have in mind for us. We must resist it. We must make it a voting issue in this election season. Ban.Sharia is where you can find us on social media. Bansharia.com is the website where you can find all kinds of great content, including some powerful videos we need you to see about Sharia, the threat it represents to us.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate you doing this. Major KCarl Smith, where do people go to get your writings? Because you're going to be one of the key guys who are going to have to stay on the breach here. You and Frederick Douglass. So where do they go, sir?
I'll be happy to stand with Frederick Douglass. If you have a problem going to Amazon and give Bezos any more money, of course, you can go to Amazon. The book is there. The title of the book is Douglass versus Marx, The Battle for America's Soul. Or come to my website. That's KCarl, KCarl .company.site, S-I-T-E. One more time, KCarl, KCarl .company.site, S-I-T-E.
Major Smith, Angie Nixon is a very smart front they put on top. They put out in front of this radical Marxist jihadist revolution. Correct? You agree with me?
Oh yes, they're smart about it. But Steve, you hit it right on the head. We got to go back to the basics. We don't have a messaging problem. We have a persuasion problem with the Republican Party and conservative. We have the right message. It's all about persuasion, and we're doing a very poor job of it, where the DSA is getting traction, but we can stop it if we just go back to the basics.
Amen, brother. Look forward to having you back on.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Very powerful. Steve. Dr. Bradley Thayer, you called this shot of how the Bolsheviks roll. They're going to put a very pleasant face on this. And what they want is what Connolly said, the Democratic Socialist Republic of North America. That is their objective, with the Constitution shredded. Why is your book an antidote to this today, sir?
Steve, it's the book is hugely important because it describes not only the nature of the threat, but what we need to do. Look, Angie Nixon's message is just Lenin's bread, land, peace, right? The same appeal that communists have always made to win support. They're not going to abide by any of it. It's all a lie, because when you understand the nature of the communist threat, you understand there's no compromise. There's smash mouth all of the time. They're driving hard for their ends, which is totalitarianism. It's not going to be a democratic socialist America. It's going to be a totalitarian America. And that's happening now. So the book explains the urgency of this threat. This is happening today. We're on our way to the realization of a communist tyranny in the United States if we don't act. The response is to build on what KCarl Smith said, is to build on Americanism. We know how to defeat communism in our long war against it. We've been fighting 100 years against this threat. We fought it better in the past. And in large measure, we fought it better in the past because our identity, American nationalism, national identity, was stronger in the past. Communists understood that. They understood you need to penetrate the ideas industry to unhinge American history and American identity, and they've been very successful at so doing. Our response has to meet their urgency, and that is today, in terms of bringing this to the highest levels of attention of the U.S. government and of the American people, to talk about we have to boldly state what our identity is, why the United States is a constitutional republic and must remain a constitutional republic, and to call these people out by name directly, the way Natalie is, Natalie Winters is, in her reporting.
Where they go get the book right now? Where we go?
Amazon,
right
Steve, Amazon or Barnes & Noble are great places to get it.
The book is on fire. It's #1 in so many categories. Go to Amazon right now. Get Dr. Thayer's book. Dr. Thayer, thank you. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Home title lock. With the cyber and AI and the combination, don't let anybody get access to your title, HomeTitleLock.com, promo code STEVE. You get a free industry report, history report on your title, and a 14-day free trial of $1 million triple lock protection. Talk to Natalie Dominguez of the team. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code STEVE. Also, don't lose out on this massive offer while it exists. AllFamilyPharmacy.com/Bannon. Promo code Bannon25. You get 25% off your order. Find out why you don't have medical freedom until you break the chokehold of the drug chains on you. Stick around. Second hour next.